do not know, but most of you guys should know, I'm the youngest of all 10 of us. And the bonus of that was, and I wrote down this little, they say it takes a village to raise a child, and that, really means like everybody in the neighborhood. Well, I consider my family as a village, so many of them. So out of all of my friends, I believe I was probably the only one that had like 10 different, 9 different parents, 10 different parents because of, my own 2 parents. So I didn't lack for anything. So that was one bonus of being the youngest, was by the time I was coming along, all of my brothers and sisters, most of them either had kids of their own, had moved out, had homes, lived in different states. So I was able to travel a lot being very, very young. So my first plane ride was probably when I was 8 years old, by myself. And then my brother Nate went with me like the very first time I went. And then he got too old to go, so then I started going by myself every year. Now we go down to Atlanta, and we take different trips. But some of the things I want to talk about was what Butch had said earlier. He mentioned the different things that we have accomplished as a family. And I remember back a while ago, I had to fill out some paperwork. I don't know if either I was in the military or I was applying for financial aid or something with school. And I had to go through and I had to talk to my parents to find out, hey, how far did you get, through school? And to try to find out like where they had, because I didn't know. I really didn't know. And I talked to my dad. He said, no, I got to like the 10th grade, I believe he said. And then he went and started working. So he was, right away jumped in the workforce, and then that was pretty much it for him. And I know he did some trade school, so that's how he got, to his final job was, Square Wall Construction Company. But and then I talked to my mother, and she had not finished high school either. She had got, I know towards the end when she started getting ill, she was actually still, taking classes to get her GED, which I was very, very, very proud of her for doing that, because y'all don't know this, but she was going to Kelwood, which is like an alternative school with all these crazy young kids out there. So I'm like praying for her every day, like, you gotta make sure. I'm like, you get this place, I don't think you know where you are. But I think these kids even respected the fact that this lady, 70 years old, was going to school to finish. So they were even respectful to her, which, I was prepared to go up there and I knew the kids. I had been over there, a couple of times to check them out. But just the fact that we have been how we are, like Butch said, we have artists, we have singers, we have ministers, we have, people with multiple degrees in this family from 2 parents who just wanted the best for their kids. That's right. And that in itself is phenomenal. So if we can just keep that in mind, and I'm with Butch with, setting up some kind of scholarship fund, for this family, because I think that legacy that we create with what they've already started, it's huge. It's huge. And they were so keen to us keeping families together. If you ever talk to mom, you ever talk to dad, that was one of their major, major, major things. Making sure that, I remember one time me and Nate, who has passed on, which, a lot of everybody here knows, but we would get these little spats because he was 7 years older than me. And at one point, he had did something and I got really upset with him. Upset to a point where I was not talking to him. Now, we lived in the same house. And y'all know this. If you live in the same house, y'all not going to live in the same roof and not talk to each other. So y'all going to have to fix this, So that was one of the reasons. So I literally did not talk to him. It went on for like a week. And then Mom asked me, like, what's going on? Get your brother. And she said, tell him something. I said, I can't tell him. I ain't talking to him. And that was enough said right there. What? And if you know anything about Mama, she knew how to fuss. I got fussed up and down, all around about not talking to this boy who had did something to upset me. I don't even remember what he did. When I think I talked to her, I did not remember what he did. So it became kind of a comical thing, but she gave it to me, and actually I said, you know what, that does make sense. It's our brother. We have to be able to, and I understand they want us to be. They want us to stick as tight as we have stuff. And I think that's huge, and I think it's something that we need to continue to do. And as far as Dad, getting more than a couple words out of him in many cases was very hard. Some of it, obviously, you guys know that, but when he had something to say, it was very, very well thought out and put together. I think one thing that that I didn't think about when I was younger, being that Mom was 42 when she had me, which I think would have made Dad like 44. 46. So he was some years older than her. So when I did all these sports and things, Mom was working. She worked a lot. So she could never, I don't think she ever saw me play, no, she did see me play football, but I don't think she ever saw me wrestle or things like that. And it was, other kids had their families, their parents were young, and their parents would be showing up, and they'd be all in tight shirts and all this other kind of stuff, and doing all that stuff. And it didn't really bother me, actually, that that they weren't there, because I knew my mom was working. I knew, my dad, had worked late at night or whatever. So I knew that they had done all the things that they had done, so it didn't really bother me. And then once I got older, I started getting the understanding of the respect that I had for other people because of my parents and how they treated me, how they made me respect other people, how how those things happen. And that is not normal from my understanding now, dealing with all the kids I've been dealing with. The respect for adults in general. When I see somebody that's elderly, I have a different type of respect for them because of my parents and how they put into me how I should respect adults. And that's what I do now with my students. Tell them, I don't care if the teacher told you to pick up a piece of paper and you didn't even throw it. I don't care if they told you, I tell them, I don't care what they tell you to do. If you think you were wrong, you do it, and then you come to me and say, hey, Mr. Mickens, I was wrong, it wasn't right, can you please talk to such and such? But as far as it goes, you respect that adult, no matter what. And that's how I think I was raised, because I know if I ever I don't care what it was. If somebody came out and said, your son disrespected me, they didn't even ask questions about if you did it or not. It was, get in the bathroom, take the pants down, because I ain't wearing out no clothes. Those are things that just happen. So, I think that a lot of the things that I was taught back then still reflect on what I do today. Last thing I want to say, this is really the last thing I want to say. But I still believe that the prayers that Mom and Dad had for us are still floating around. And they are still being issued, they're still being answered, it's still coming down, because I can tell you right now, the things that I have went through in the last year, dealing with different jobs and dealing with the things that I've had to deal with in my own personal life, Felicia can tell you, just dealing with feeling like they've been putting me in some different type of situations that I'm not supposed to have to necessarily be in. And being able to overcome those and have like a smile on my face still is a true tribute to the blessings and the prayers that went up. We're talking 40 years ago. A long time ago for how they wanted things to be. And I think that our main thing that we can do is just continue to live on and do what we were doing and stick together as much as possible, because that's exactly what they would want. And another thing too, last thing, is the last thing I want to do is forget Nate. I don't want to forget he used to be our baby brother, but then I became one. So the other baby brother. Because obviously he went through some things towards the end there. And I think us going through those things showed us how strong we really are. Being at that hospital, getting everybody on the phone, I got my phone going, I got Mark on the phone, Butch on the phone, and they're talking to us and trying to tell us, hey, this is how it's going to happen, this is what's going on. And being there next to him and supporting him, I think that right there shows, obviously it was a bad situation. We didn't want to have to go through it. I I'll tell you this right now, it won't be the last time we have to go through it. So we have to keep that in mind and understand that, hey, if you don't talk to somebody in a while, pick up the phone. Hey, how you doing? I heard you were ill. Say what's up to somebody. Give a call. I mean, everybody here, before you leave this room, get somebody's number who you do not have. And just give them a call. Shoot text. We got text messages now. You ain't got to talk to people no more, y'all. Just shoot them a text message. Hey, I'm doing good. How are you doing? Because that right there is the kind of thing that families do just to keep an eye on each other. All right? Now I'm done. Thank you.